Hello, everybody. Let's get started. I'm going to open up the file from my end. Hi, everyone. I'm just going through the chat to see if there's any questions. I hope that this feels like home and feels like a familiar hug for your inspiration and for your perspective on the year. I go through this exact practice multiple times a year because everything that we do today, we're going to give a really good overview today of good beginning of the year vibes, how to listen to yourself, how to listen to your dreams and your aspirations and your goals, and then how to change or how to turn them into actual goals that you can follow and steps that you can follow. But a little secret for you. If you want to take this workbook, this is last year's cover. Don't look at the cover. You know what the cover looks like this year. If you want to take this exact same workbook and channel it for a specific purpose, for example, I'm channeling this now into, I have two different projects that I'm very happy and very, very excited by. And I'm working this workbook with those projects in mind because it actually works wonders when you think, okay, if I want to write a book, I'm going to go through this entire workbook with that focus. Like, what's my dream? What are my values for this book? What are my short-term and long-term steps that I can take to make this happen? So I'm going to go through this whole entire thing with one project or one aspiration in mind. You can do it for a broad stroke of what I want to do this year, which is what we're going to do today. But then you can really, really narrow it down and say, okay, if I want to complete making artwork by the beginning of June with my classmates, how am I going to do that? Like, what do I need to do now? What do I need to do then? Like, you can really set yourself up for success. Or if you want to create a collection and launch it by August, what does that look like? So you can kind of like channel your energy that way. In the last workshop, I discussed my personal deep, deep, deep desire to paint more and my overwhelm around that last year. And I just kind of let you behind the scenes and like, this has been really hard for me. Um, and I cracked myself open over the weekend and I am painting and now I can't stop painting. So one thing that I recommend doing if you have something that's like a real desire living somewhere deep inside your chest, inside your rib cage, um, let yourself acknowledge that and let yourself uh, maybe even tell someone about it. We'll talk about accountability in a little bit here, but there's something absolutely magical about just letting that thing have some light, whether it's just saying it out loud or writing it down or just letting yourself admit that you have this desire and then being like, I'm scared of it. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to paint as often as I used to. I'm too busy. I have too many kids. No, I don't have too many kids, but you know what I mean. I have a lot of things pulling at me. I don't know how to do this. And then maybe you'll find out that you can do it and you'll kind of crack the code or at least make some space for desire. I think that's the really big part of it is the space for desire, because when you desire something, it's quite easy to make it happen. It might feel a little bit selfish, which we have to get over that, but it's much easier than having resistance all along the way. So let yourself desire something, let yourself lean in and enjoy that process. Wendy, your word of the year is purposeful. Oh, Erica, less. I love that word of the year. That's really, really cool. Christina, focus, ease, play, confident, progress, joy, ease. I love that. Balance, peace, gentle, healing, breathe, practice, proactive. Ooh, I like that one. Tranquility. These are so beautiful. Potential, focus, simple. I love it. Shine. Ooh. For years, my word of the year was nourish because I both felt like I needed to be nourished, which is always a telling sign when you're like, I need to be nourished, I need to be nourished, I need to be nourished. There's something out of balance there. Typically, you're not, you shouldn't always need to be nourished. And then I also felt like my work could nourish others. So it's kind of that. I was always teetering between a glass half empty and half full. And then one thing that tipped for me, that's a cute metaphor for tea. One thing that shifted for me was when I was sitting with Morgan Harper Nichols at a mastermind retreat at the beginning of 2022. She said the simplest thing, and it hasn't ever left me. And I don't want to say it changed my whole life, but also these simple words kind of did change my whole life. And it was the phrase, you can only give from the excess. And that was exactly what I needed to hear. And I was like, oh my God, I have to create excess. So if you're having a little bit of resistance around the conversation around your dreams, the conversation around giving your dreams energy and space and weight, like weighting them more heavily on your scales of things that matter to you than you might have in the past because they seem frivolous or they seem selfish or they seem unrealistic or they seem whatever your thing might be. I had a lot of those things. Something else always needs me more. Something else is always more important. I can keep giving and giving and giving. I don't need to live. What? I'm just a person who just keeps giving. You can only give sustainably from the excess. So once my teacup is full, I have a teacup right here that's pretty full. This is all for me. All of this is for me. I will only give you things that drip out, which thankfully I'm pretty messy. So we got a lot of that. But that just reframed a lot of things for me. So that was a little side note that I didn't know I was going to say, but here we are. All right, let's open up our workbook. Here's our beautiful workbook for 2024. Let's get into it. Okay. Hello, I'm Emily. If you don't know who I am, I love teaching. I don't love being in front of the camera, but I do love teaching. And I do love that my role as an artist has evolved to be something that I didn't ever expect. I thought I was going to be a painter, and that's a dream job. And then my business shifted a little bit as I shifted and people around me began asking for mentorship and then for guidance. I began to blend, along with my painting practice, some creative mentorship. And that bloomed into a mastermind and then into a course, Making Art Work, which opens again in March. And then it bloomed into the collective, which is an ongoing membership where we support artists. And all of it really comes down or comes back to the heart of helping artists thrive and helping artists find success in their businesses. Because that's something that I think we give ourselves a lot of that's too many L's, a lot of limiting beliefs around before we even really try, before we even really begin the process of trying to let our work take up space and let our work fund a part of our life. If you want to do that, you don't have to make a business out of your art. It's not at all what I'm saying, but I do think that we stop ourselves from even letting ourselves dream that this could be possible when I know that it's very, very possible because I am not the smartest person in the room. I am not the best artist in the room. I can see a lot of your art behind you, and I know that I'm not the best artist in the room. But there's something about letting yourself believe that you are capable, that your art is capable, that your dreams are in you for a reason. There's something absolutely magical and powerful about that. And for some reason in my DNA, that hasn't really been the thing that's held me back. And I think just letting myself, and was partially necessity. I really had to make a living with my art quickly. So there's a little bit of that, like when you have to do something, you're going to do it. And that might have been a blessing in disguise early on in my career, having to make a living with my art. But I also just want to encourage as many artists as possible to not limit yourself because your dreams feel too beautiful or too unrealistic or too I read recently that if someone has your dream job, you can also have your dream job. If your dream job exists out there somewhere in the world, you can have it. You're just like every other adult. If that adult can do it, you can do it, which I don't often feel like an adult. So that's always like, wait, I'm an adult too. Oh my gosh. But I like that mentality quite a lot. I'll let you read this part. As an artist and creative entrepreneur, you thrive on passion, bursts of energy, and big, beautiful waves of inspiration. This word right here, is the beginning of dreams, and dreams are the beginning of aspirations, and aspirations are the beginning of goals. You have to go in that order. Because if you have a plan, you have direction. If you have direction, you have a sure path to stability. And when you find security or stability, you can begin to play. And when you can play, you get energized. This feels like if you give a mouse a muffin, like it's that kind of thing, but it's absolutely true. And when you are energized, you can show up day after day. I don't know what that word you is there. We need to edit that out. Enabling you to make a beautiful, meaningful impact. To see how this is all kind of linked, it's all kind of this beautiful path that we get to take. So let's get into it. Enough talking about it. Let's go ahead and do it. Please, if you haven't heard me say this 1,000 times in this meeting, this one meeting so far, please let yourself believe in your dreams. Let yourself get out of your way. Get out of your dreams way. Get out of the things that are living inside of you. They are in you for a reason. Try at least just in this workshop to just release those limiting beliefs. If you have like a little I can't or I shouldn't, just for this 1 hour, release it. You can bring it back if you need to. Please don't, but you can if you need to. But try to do less limiting of your beliefs and your dreams for just a little bit. Let's see what happens when you do. Okay. One thing that I am going to recommend that you do forever and ever and ever, not just in this workshop, is to begin setting goals based on only you. We are often taught by business gurus and lifestyle, coaches and people that are going to advise you. People that would sit in the role that I'm sitting in right now are often going to advise you to do a lot of things that sound like really good ideas, really good, really smart ideas, strategies for success, and success is in giant quotes because success, you're told, should look like somebody else. You should look like someone else. You're not doing enough until you look like someone else. And I want to release all of us of that because I've tried that. I lived that way for several years, I guess 4 years, and it is the fastest way to be burnt out. It's the fastest way to end up living a life that is not congruent to you, that might look perfect from the outside, but is absolutely not at all fitting inside of your body and inside of your aspirations and inside of what you know is right for you. So begin your dreams. I know that sounds very extreme, but it's true. I think we all know that. We've all probably done some version of that in the past where we're like, oh, that looked good on paper. That looked good on someone else's vision board, but it wasn't on my vision board. Why did I put that there? A lot of us come back to creativity because we followed a vision board that wasn't ours. Maybe your parents wanted you to go to med school. Maybe your partner was like, you can't do that. We need you to have a real job. Or maybe you just whatever, fill in the blank, your own life. But there are a lot of things that we do that are someone else's dream that we just adapted and adopted because it felt right and it wasn't. So what we're going to begin in this workbook is to really, really look at yourself. And again, this is where you need to get quiet and maybe do this inner work while we're not on Zoom, when you can hear yourself, put on some good music, pour a glass of tea, a mug of tea, light a candle, like listen to yourself if you need to. But the questions that I would like to begin with, these are just jumping off points. These are not extensive, like complete questions, are these ones down here. How do you want to feel each day? So before you begin setting any goals, before you begin taking on someone else's story, come to these questions first and answer them for you. How do you want to feel each day? What do you want to accomplish by the end of the year? Or you could say by the end of the month, or be whatever amount of time you can see realistically. What do you want to have accomplished in that time? And again, these are your dreams, your aspirations. If you want to get 10,000 new Instagram followers, awesome. But that might be someone else's dream. That might be someone else's stack of shoulds and, goals for you that aren't necessarily your goals. How can you allow your work to have a bigger positive impact on those around you? while keeping your aspirations and your goals in mind. What does your legacy look like? This is the one that is the most open-ended question out of these, in my opinion. And it's the one that I think can chart a little bit further out than like a year plan or a month plan or a 10-year plan. Like this one can be a little bit more elusive and a little bit more expanded than those other questions. So a legacy, I think we often think about this as like, oh, you're dead. What does your life look like? And maybe, sure. But maybe we could also shorten that a little bit. Maybe we can create a legacy in the next 5 years. Like, what are you known for? What was your impact on people close to you? What do your children, when they think of you, what do they feel? What do they imagine? What do they remember? And like I said, you don't have to be gone from this earth for this to happen. Like, what is your legacy now? You currently have a legacy of some sort. So, what do you want that to be? What do you want to aspire towards? What do you want to have created at the end of 10 years or 15 years or 20 years? One practice that we do inside of Making Art Work at the beginning is a future self visualization, which most of Making Art Work is very practical, but if you know me at all, you know I'm going to begin module 1 is based on what are you? Who are you? What do you want? How can we make that happen? And it's very heart-centered. It's very, very like everything has to be congruent, and then we can make change, and then we can really impact your business. But if you don't know what you actually want, if you don't know what you're actually naturally gifted in and geared towards and where you're headed, then making it work isn't going to do you any good. It'll just give you a lot of things that you should do. Again, that massive amount of shoulds are going to be stacked up after the end of that course. So in module 1, we get really, really clear on what matters to you. So in this future visualization, you just imagine, like, who are you? What are you doing? What are you enjoying? What are you proud of? What have you done within? I always see myself around 15 years in the future, and just what is that person doing? How am I dressed? What am I feeling? What is my morning routine? And the more specific you can get, the more you can actually begin to head there now. I like manifestation because it feels to me like all you're doing is pointing yourself in the right direction. I know it's a very simplistic way of looking at manifestation, and it can go like much more deeper, and it can be a beautiful practice. But at its simplest form, you're simply saying, I am currently living in this future self. I am currently heading in this future self's direction. So the more you can imagine that future self, the more you can point yourself there very, very clearly. Okay, the more you can visualize these big things, the more success you will find in all areas of your life and creative career. I'll let you read this part. Let's see here. You not only have to care for yourself and your business, but the value of your creative work. So as we go through this workbook, like I said, you can go through it from several different angles. You can go through it with your whole year. And as artists, you and your business are very, very linked. So your holistic you self and your business self are going to have a lot of overlap. That Venn diagram is super meshed. But you can go through it with a very holistic view of both you and your creative work, which is what we're going to guide. I'll guide you through that in this workshop. You can go through it with just you in mind. You can go through with just your work in mind, and those things could be more delineated. You can also go through it, like I said, with a certain project in mind. So again, do what works best for you. Print out the worksheets as often as you need to. These are yours to use. We'll go through a little bit of a blend right now because I want to encompass as much as possible in this workshop. But okay, let's dive into it. We're going to go through a few different worksheets. There's a core values worksheet that I love. We'll do that one in just a second. Vision casting, get to the heart of it. I'll take you through these and we'll spend more time on them. Current aspirations. I love aspirations. They are the most beautiful things inside of the human brain, in my opinion. Find your creativity so we can really value those creative bursts. Map out your big creative goals, or really any goals that you'd like. Action plan and accountability. So we'll go through these one by one. Any questions before we start on the worksheets? Let me pop over to the chat. Okay. Module 1 is my favorite. It is really a beautiful module. Every year I'm like, sit with this. Don't skip this module. I promise you, you need this. It is life-changing, life-changing. I love that. Okay, let's dive in. Some core values. Like I said, we're going to start with the heart of it, which is you. In this worksheet, I have listed just a lot of adjectives. Yes. I'm like, wait, what part of speech is this? Um, you can add to this. This is not at all an extensive list. There are words on here that I would personally add. In fact, one of my core value words is not even on here, which is freedom. So everyone go ahead and add the word freedom because oh, that word is so powerful. You don't have to. Whatever words really resonate with you. But what I recommend doing is if you have this printed out, then just go through and like cross off words, circle words, just really mark up this whole page. And these words might change year after year. They might change month after month. But understanding the things that resonate with you, the words that resonate with you right now, will give you a lot of clarity as you begin to set your goals and begin to listen to your aspirations. Because if your words, I'll just share my words, my three core values that I can really keep track of in my head are creativity, peace, and freedom. Those three words guide almost every decision that I make because I know that I need to have both creativity, well, all three, creativity, peace, and freedom. So if I begin to feel stuck and like, oh my gosh, everything is the same year after year, everything is the same in my day, day after day, I begin to turn into a shell of a human or hyperventilate and implode things. We don't want either of those. Those are both nasty. So I know that I need to weave some freedom into my days. Every day looks a little different. Every month is a little different. There's always flow. Things are always changing and always new. Creativity means that I need to invest in being creative, not just in my painting practice because that's just one tiny form of creativity, but creativity in every area, even in like down to how I cook, how I work out, how I teach these workshops. Like every area needs to have something that feels like I'm inventing, that I'm trying new things. Again, that goes back to freedom. But then peace, being the third thing that feels like a deep core value for me, means that all of it has to feel like it belongs inside of me and it feels like it's at home inside of me. I do love adventure. I love exploration, but coming back to that inner peace, whew, it's the only way to live, in my opinion. So, but your words might be very different. You might have openness and security and humor. And those words are going to bring up a triad of things that feel very different than my three words. So if you can go through this again, I'll be quiet for like 10 seconds. Mark your words. Don't edit too much during this phase. And then when you get down to the bottom here, we're going to list the 5 that most resonate with you. And I keep listing 3 when I'm giving examples because I can personally track 3 words. That's just kind of how my brain works. But limiting it to 3 can be kind of like, wait, I need more. And that might be true. You might need more. But if you can get it down to 2 or 3, then you're going to be golden because those are 2 things or 3 things that you can really be like, I need this and this. I need this, this, and this. It's kind of hard to list a list of 5 because our human brains get tired. So I'll let you sit with this for a minute. If you know your core values, want to put them in the chat, you're welcome to do that. I would love to read them. Beauty, creativity, and joy from Melinda. Joy, stability, nature. I love those. I love that. Balance, growth, tranquility. Do you see how when you really claim your words, it begins to make sense why certain things matter to you? when I was like freedom, freedom, that word is mine, which it's so funny that it's not even on the list here. I need to add that. When I really resonated with freedom, it made sense why I feel the way that I do about my business being a little bit fluid and letting things change and evolve, and why I love travel. Um, I just began to like, oh yeah, that's why that makes sense to me. But if one of my words was consistency, then that might change everything about me. Does that make sense? So when you really begin to resonate with your words, it's like, oh, that's who I am. And as you scroll through the comments here, we're all different. We all have different things that make us who we are, which is just so beautiful. I love that. Okay, come back to this if you need to. Again, as I said, these words can change. These words can shift. You might not have the same core values next year, and that's completely okay. You have changed. My 6-year-old always says, I'm changing. I've changed whenever he doesn't want to eat food that I give him, but whatever. Okay, we're going to do some vision casting in this worksheet. This worksheet is meant to help you expand what you know is possible for you. If you have lived in a community, in a culture that says that artists can exceed or can succeed up to a certain point, but not beyond. Like maybe you can learn how to paint well, but you can't sell anything. Maybe you have learned how to draw really well, but like good luck getting commissions. Or maybe you've learned how to get commissions, but you definitely can't sell on your own. Or maybe you have a gallery, but like you're never going to go to a museum. Whatever your upper limit that you have been told, either externally outside of you or internally inside of you, we're going to just kind of break those molds a little tiny bit. I'm not asking you to shatter them and throw them away, because oftentimes limiting beliefs are around us to keep us safe in some way. But I do want us to just kind of take a hammer and tap, tap, tap and break that little mold a little bit and see what comes through, see what you can see. So I'm going to move my computer because I need more space on my desk. Vision casting. So in this, we're going to, again, this might be something that you need to come back to later if you're like, I need some quietness, I need some space, but we're going to look ahead. I want you to imagine, again, we're going back to that future self. What have you accomplished after? Let's take it out. Let's take it out to like 2 years of positive action. Again, you've kind of cracked that mold a little bit, and you're able to see some light. You're able to see some possibility. Again, if some adult somewhere in the world has your dream job, then you can also have your dream job. I get nepotism is a thing, but still, let's forget about that for a minute. If someone has your dream job or your dream existence, you can also have it. So, let's just kind of crack that a little bit. What amazing things have you accomplished at the end of 2 years of positive action, 5 years of positive action? And positive action is aligned based on your aspirations and your dreams, letting yourself believe in the possible, letting yourself believe in what's to come. What are you proud of? What have you accomplished that you're proud of? The next question is my very favorite, maybe of the entire book, because one thing that really, really settled in for me in 2023 was the need for pleasure in almost every single area of life. When something makes you happy, you want to do it. So when cooking dinner for my children makes me happy, I love doing it. It's so fun. Not everything has to be fun all the time. Of course, there are nights when I'm like, just eat some food, please. Eat this food. It's fine. But if I can weave as much pleasure and as much joy into my life as possible, then my positive actions become incredibly easy to do. And that's very fun. So what actually brings you true joy? This is again where we have to let go of a lot of ego and a lot of external stories around what we should have, what we should be doing, what our life should look like. Because we all have these stories, these cautionary tales, right? Of someone being like, I thought I wanted that, but I don't. Every famous person says this for the most part. You think you want fame. You don't. You don't want this. You don't want this life. You don't want paparazzi. You don't want whatever. You think you want 100,000 Instagram followers. You might not. It's not easy sometimes. You think you want to be viral on TikTok. You might not. I'm not saying that you don't. You might want these things. These things might be like actually what brings you joy. That's great. The things that bring me true joy are really simple. And this might be true for you as well. The things that bring me true joy are late night conversations with friends and quiet mornings where I get to actually make a good cup of coffee and enjoy it and sit on the couch and be still. Laughing with my kids, like playing a stupid game over dinner and laughing our heads off. True joy. Laying on my back deck in the sunshine. True joy. Reading poetry and crying my eyes out. Like these things are all free, pretty much free, and actually bring me true joy. Planning a trip, that one's not free, but planning a trip, ooh, nothing makes me happier. Um, when do you feel most creative and alive? And I think the more you can really fill this box, maybe even expand this box and spill over into an entire journal page, but the more you can fill this out, the more you can be okay with saying good for you, not for me, to a lot of things that don't actually bring you joy. And the more you can say, I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want that. We were about to build a beautiful home in the mountains. And we got so far into the process that we like had, blueprints drawing up or being drawn. I'm like, I don't want that. I don't want that house. It's going to be so much work. I don't want that. Like that sounded perfect and so beautiful and so fun. But then when I really was like, what do I actually want? It wasn't that. So I don't have that. Okay, what does a day in your future life look like? Again, we're going to go back to that vision casting. And this is where you get to journal and write down who are you in the future? It could be 2 years, it could be 5 years, it could be 20 years. But who are you? What are you doing? What are you valuing? Um, Oftentimes when I'm trying to fill out my like future schedule, like maybe I'll get asked to do something in the future, or I'll get asked to speak somewhere or just, show up in some way. I'm like, well, future me might want to do that, but what does current me want? And if current me is like, I don't want to do that, then future me might say that as well. So I like to think about that sometimes. What does a day in your future life look like and feel like? What does your morning look like and feel like? Are you a morning person? Are you up and at 'em and getting a little workout in and then making tea and oatmeal? And that sounds so heavenly. It's not for me though. I know I'm not a morning person. That's okay. But who are you? What do you want? What does your future self and day look like? Okay, we're going to go on to the next worksheet. Again, the vision casting one might be one that you need to spend more time with on your own. The same is going to be true for this one. And these two worksheets, one of them is asking you to imagine a big, beautiful, bright future. This next one, goal setting worksheet number two, it's the one that I have on the screen here. I don't know. I'm trying to tell you which one it is by describing it. But this one, you might have some things that come to mind right away. And if so, write them down right now. But you might have some things that come up with a little bit more quietness or a little bit more time. And that's completely okay. So if you're kind of like, wait, what am I writing down here? What are my big dreams? What are my business and personal dreams? Um, this is the space also where if I can encourage you to do something, I'm going to do it. I would like you to write down dreams that might feel absolutely unattainable, absolutely crazy. These things are too big. You could never, but maybe you want to deep down. Write those things down. Those big aspirational dreams are in your body and in your brain for a reason. They are living in your heart for a reason. And I say this so often inside of Making Art Work, that these things are in you for a reason. Because even if they're just goalposts that you're heading towards, working towards something is so powerful. It's so transformative. Working towards something that feels like, wow, do I really want a museum show someday? That would be incredible. That's a huge aspirational dream. Yeah, I'm going to write that down. And even if I don't actually ever get there, goals are not about accomplishing them. Goals are not about checking things off and having that little ego trip and being like, I did it, I'm amazing. Goals are about working towards something. And if your goal was always a little bit out of reach, I am completely okay with that. If you're really used to linking your success with accomplishing your goals, I might ask you to reframe that a little bit. I'm going to ask you to reframe that a little bit. Goals should be a thing that you're always moving towards. If you always accomplish your goals are not big enough. So let your goals be a little bit bigger, maybe even a little bit. They make you go, oh, I don't know if I can do this. That's the right kind of goal. That's the right kind of aspiration, the right kind of big, beautiful dream. Um, Again, I said this at the beginning. Let me just say this again. We're going to be moving from dreams are just things that are like, I love that. That's awesome. Wow, that'd be so cool. I would love to own a daffodil farm someday. That would be so beautiful. That'd be so lovely. That kind of thing is a dream. And then we take that dream and we shift it into an aspiration. An aspiration actually begins to be a thing that we're moving towards. Like, I aspire towards this. It's no longer this like big pipe dream, whatever that phrase even means, that big thing that's like, you know, doesn't really make sense. You may or may not do it, but it's in you for a reason, right? Your aspirations, you're beginning to say, okay, I'm aspiring towards this. This is coming inside of my energy. I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to move towards this. This is my aspiration. This is my thing that I'd like to move towards. And then aspirations turn into goals. Goals, we begin to actually take steps. We begin to actually take energy and actions, and we begin to do them. So that's how we're going to think about those things. So in this space, we're going to write down things that are in that big dreamy phase, those big like, ooh, I want that. I want to write a book. I want to create a collection of artwork that's so powerful that I'm so proud of. Um, and these can be things that are really, really far in the future, or things like right now, I want to create 12 paintings by the end of February. I can do it. I got this. No problem. No problem. So that kind of thing, you can, scope it as far out or as close in as you'd like to. Okay. I'm not going to rush you. Sit with this as long as you'd like to. Come back to it. This worksheet is one of my favorites because it feels like a little Mad Lib, and I love Mad Libs. It's not a Mad Lib. You actually have to think, but it does kind of feel like fill in the blank, which feels nice and easy. It's deceptively not easy though. I'm so sorry. Get to the heart of it. So you've tapped into some really big dreams that are living inside of you. You've gone a little bit inward and maybe thought about some things that you're like, oh my gosh, I want to do that. I want that. I want to see that in my life. Now we're going to get to the heart of it and tap into your intuition and outline the underlying reason why you want these things, why you want to evolve as a whole person. So in those big dreams, there's something that probably is also living in your core values. It's probably also living in a lot of the things that you aspire to be in the future. There's something in those dreams that feels like you. So now let's maybe simplify it a little bit and try to fill in these blanks. There are no right answers here. This is an intuition guided prompt. So you can write down whatever you want, and there's going to be some truth in it. I want to see blank in my life. You might fill in one of your big dreams. You might fill in something that you aspire towards in the future, so that I blank. If you're going through this workbook again with a specific project in mind, that would be, I want to see a published book in my life, so that, and then you can fill in the blank here. Or I want to see a collection of paintings in my life, so that I fill in the blank here. So you can be more specific. but maybe you can just fill in something that's a little bit more general and life focused at this point. You could even fill in your core values here, if that makes sense. So I want to see more freedom in my life, or I want to see more joy in my life, or I want to see, if that feels too general, then get more focused. But depending on how your brain works and how your like thought process works, again, this worksheet is very open-ended for a reason. Tap into your intuition. I want to feel what each day. I love this one. I'm a very feelings-oriented person, but this undoes a lot of ego. Asking yourself how you want to feel lets you stop caring so much about what you should be accomplishing and what capitalism is asking of you and what other people's ideas are asking of you. What do you actually want to feel each day? Do you want to feel stressed and overwhelmed each day? Hell no. Nobody's writing that down, I guarantee you. What do you actually want to feel each day? And then how can you actually tap into that feeling? What conditions can you create so that that feeling is more common in your day than it may otherwise be? When I reflect on this year, so at the end of 2024, that still feels so weird to say. When I reflect on this year, I hope to see actions that align with my core values of, write your core values in here. If you have 3, then just write in 3 in both my personal and business, personal life and business. I want to see blank in my business so that the beautiful thing about being an artist or a creative entrepreneur in any way, whether you're a photographer, a film producer, a poet, whatever your thing may be. I am a painter, so I talk in that world a lot, but expand it. The beautiful thing about being a creative is, like I said, there's that Venn diagram where you, the human, intersect with you, the work. And the intersection is much higher than most businesses may be. If you were a tire manufacturer, you would not have that crossover. You would be like, this is me, this is my work, we intersected this much, right? But being an artist, there's so much overlap and there's so much dependent on you, the human, that bleeds into you, the artist, and into your work in that world. So the two are very interlinked, but the beautiful thing about having a business, and this is where we really get very focused inside of making our work, is your business has its own set of needs. It has its own set of goals and its own massive list of things that it's going to ask of you. And you, the human, have to remain whole and sustained and nourished while your business wants to grow at whatever rate it wants to grow and will grow as you, the human, can feed into it. Again, back to our teacup, you can only give your business from the excess also. Sadly, businesses tend to be needy little babies. And while you might give your child things that might tap into your, hopefully we're only giving from the excess still, but children are always needy and they always need things of you. Your business will act like that. It will act like a needy baby, but only give from the excess, even there. But it is good to think about, what does my business need? What does my business want? Think of it like a separate entity and like a separate being in some ways that you can choose to feed or you can choose to care for as you have capacity or as you can hire capacity. And then another work related question. I want to feel blank in my work. And this is where I'm really speaking to artists here and to creatives here, because our work, our creative work, whether it's painting, photography, any overlap of those things, if you're an entrepreneur, you're wearing a lot of hats. If you're a painter, you're also probably a web designer and a graphic designer and an accountant and a bookkeeper and an order fulfillment manager and a photographer. You're all the things, right? So in your work, how do you want to feel when you step into that role of business owner or artist or entrepreneur or whatever you kind of identify as right now? How do you want to feel in that role inside of your life? Another massive theme inside of making art work is the concept of space for improvement equals space for play. If you don't have that written down somewhere on your like paper right in front of you, if you've been through making art work, you probably already do. You probably have that written down somewhere because it's just such an important tenet of, I think, any healthy growth, but we talk about it a lot making art work. But space for improvement equals space for play. In this box, I want you to keep that mentality in mind and write down something that you want to improve in. At the beginning of making it work, we have an evaluation that everyone goes through in module 1 where you say it's like multiple pages long, I think like 9 pages long or so. And you mark where you are currently on a scale, like things like my branding, my brand colors, my website, my photography is, and there's like a scale, like 1 to 6 or something. And anytime we mark something that's in that 1 to 2 range or 1 to 3 range, all we say is, "Ooh, yay, space to play." And the course will help you, play effectively and learn how to do these things well. Anything that you have marked well, awesome, beautiful. I guarantee those things are marked well now, and you're going to come back around and say, okay, my website was at a 5 last year, and now it needs to be played with. I need to like evolve this thing and grow this thing a little bit and change it up. Um, that's the beautiful thing about always growing and always evolving is there's always space to play. So when you see this kind of question inside of this workbook, please know that the tone is always, again, we're here for joy, we're here for pleasure, we're here for enjoyment. And any kind of space for improvement is only space for more enjoyment. Like, yay, that's fun. Things that I'm already good at, easy, awesome. Let's go to something hard. Okay, we have some yes, no questions in this book. And yes, no questions, I think, are so freeing. They're so liberating because they give you space for that clarity that is kindness. So, yes or no, I will invest energy and thought into improving these areas. And um, you can answer yes or no. There are seasons of life when it might be a no, and that's completely okay and generous to be like, nope, not right now. I'm down here, by the way. Um, I went through a separation in 2022, and there were many, many things that I was like, nope, I can't do that right now. I don't have capacity right now. My other things need me so much more. So all of these big goals and things that I want to see, I'm going to pause. And that's okay. That's completely okay. If you're in a phase of life where you're caring for someone who's ill, or an aging parent, or if you're about to move, or if you're changing jobs, it's okay to be like, no, I'm not going to do these things right now. I will, but I'm not going to do them right now. If you're in the space where you can answer yes, then circle yes and promise that to yourself that you will let yourself expand. You will let yourself grow. You will let yourself feel the things that you want to feel, that you will honor your values this year. Um, I will ask for help in improving these areas. Help is so beautiful to ask for and so hard to ask for sometimes. So this one might be like, oh, will I? Will I do that? And you can begin asking for help in places that feel very comfortable to do so. Begin with your partner, begin with your best friend, to begin with telling yourself that you will listen to some podcasts on a certain topic or you'll read some books on a certain topic. That's asking for help. Just saying, I don't have all the answers, or I don't have all the ability, or I don't have all the energy. I need help. You don't have to have a whole team. You don't have to have a network. You don't have to have business besties. You just need to know that while you might not have capacity to meet every single one of your needs, you do have capacity to ensure that your needs are met. And I think that little switch is really powerful and really liberating. Also, if you have friends in your life, they want to help you and you want to help them. So do it. My business is worth the investment of, and intuitively fill in the blank here, time, money, energy, asking for help, new paints, a website, whatever your thing might be that you're like, oh, I need that. I need that for my business or for my creative work. Um, Also, you could fill in the word, my morning routine is worth the investment of, my whatever thing comes up for you. You can just change that word a little bit. Okay, let's keep going for the sake of time. We're going to go to current aspirations. Now, this is where we get real. You're going to talk about yourself, no longer in the future, no longer like, a few years out. We're going to talk about you right now. What do you want to achieve in the next 3, 6, or 12 months? And you can circle the range that you can see realistically right now, circle whatever amount of months or weeks even that you have. And then these are broken down in categories because I find it overwhelming to just have like a list, like a space to just list out things that you're aspiring towards. But the categories, I'm like, okay, this is what I want in this. This is what I want in this. Also, you'll notice these boxes are not very big. Now you can write as small as you'd like to, but I gave you limited space on purpose. Limited space helps to keep your aspirations limited to what you can reasonably accomplish. I could give you a massive page of health goals, like space to write all of your goals, and you might fill it up. And then you'd be like, well, I can't do any of these now. There's too many. I am overwhelmed. So this is to help limit some overwhelm and really narrow down things that come to your mind first. And you can add to it and edit, of course, but write them down in maybe you can fit a couple, maybe 3 or 4 on each of these, but try not to overwhelm yourself too much at this phase. I'll give you just a couple of minutes to write, but this might be a page that you come back to, as you have some clarity and some space.
Emily, there's a question in the chat
Mm-hmm.
about this page, and they're saying, I never know what to write into inspiration and clarity. Can you give some examples?
Ooh, yeah. This one is a little bit overwhelming, actually, like a little bit ambiguous. Um, Current aspirations, I think this is definitely speaking towards artists that invent new things. And I'm imagining that applies to you if you're in this space because we're all creatives here, whether you're actually like an artist or, we're all creative people. This one might be things like when you have that idea of it's just like right around the horizon, like I can see a collection of paintings in my mind's eye that I haven't created yet, but I know it's there. So how can I invest in that next thing? Whatever I'm like, okay, that's where I'm headed. That's my aspiration. These are all aspirations, not goals at this point. So these are things that I want to move into. Um, the word clarity is a little bit also ambiguous, but that one might mean I know that this thing is coming up for me. In 2021, I knew that a separation was coming up for me. That might have been something that I wrote like, okay, I need to do a lot of inner work. I need to do a lot of, um, conversations and therapy and like discussions. And this is a process that's going to be like gentle. And I want to do it as beautifully as possible. So like that might have been something that I'm like, I need to like focus some energy on this. It doesn't have to be that big, though. That's a huge thing. It could be as simple as I know that I want to have gentler mornings. So how can I work towards that? How can I make sure that every Monday I have some space for me? How can I make sure that I value my um maybe you want to be getting yoga practice or something along those lines. So like where do you want to head? Like how do you want to evolve as a person? But if that one's like, I don't know that box, just fill in the other ones. And I bet something will come to that kind of fits in that zone. For me, this is also valuing and aspiring towards more travel. Travel takes a lot of planning and a lot of goal setting and a lot of like storing up energy and storing up funds and things like that. So it's a goal that I'm always aspiring towards is more travel, just because it fills me so much. So that might be something that I would write in this box as well. I love that. Perfect. You guys have some great ideas. Morning pages, take yourself on artist dates. Read the Artist's Way, hiking, hiring a housekeeper. Ooh, I love that one. Perfect. You can put Ma in the growth and learn box. Absolutely. Therapy. Absolutely. These all fit. It's kind of that extra space where you're like, I know that the deeper me needs this. If you feel like there are things that could fit in multiple boxes, then you can put them in both boxes because you might have times in your life when maybe you're more like, for instance, business and financial. There might be some things that have some crossover, or personal life and health might have some crossover. Um, but sometimes there's something about our brains where we're like, I want to focus on this. And it might be that it fits in two boxes, but that's okay. I'll let this page sit with you for a bit. If you're still writing, then keep writing. Let's keep going. This page I love. It's so sweet. It's so sweet. I feel like this page is my personal hug to myself, and I'm just letting you like join the group hug here. Um, it's just precious. When I went through this page on Friday during the goal setting workshop, it actually like genuinely helped me unlock the things that I needed to begin my painting. Like I just show you my beautiful palette. Hold on, I'm just gonna take you on a little wee. Look at this palette. Like I have been painting up a storm since the last workshop. I can't stop. Um, and this page, ooh, I'm probably dizzy by now. This page had a lot to do with that. So welcome to my group hug. This is where we reverse engineer your inspiration. So we often think about inspiration as this thing that just dawns on us, like, boom, I got inspired. Wow. When actually that is not really the case. You can manufacture inspiration. You can tap into inspiration. It is a pool that lives inside of you. And the more you nurture that pool, the bigger and deeper it becomes. So we're going to begin the journey in 2024 of nurturing that pool of inspiration that's always inside of you. No matter what you're working towards, you can tap into it for your creative practice. You can tap into it for, again, like making dinners. You can tap into it for your workouts. You can tap into it for anything that you're like, I need to find something rich inside of myself. You now know how. And that's awesome. So this worksheet will help us do that. Inspiration is not magical. It's something that you can train, nourish, grow, and nearly summon on command. Like, how cool is that? Set your creativity up for success by intentionally nourishing it. Okay, so I feel most alive when we are all going to have slightly different answers to this worksheet, and that's because all of our sources of inspiration are slightly different. And it's okay if yours looks nothing like mine and mine looks nothing like yours. Some people love to get inspired while hiking. That's a great answer. It doesn't work for me. I've tried it enough times and I'm like, that was fun. I feel alive. My body feels great. I did not come home ready to paint. I came home ready for a snack and a nap. And that's okay. You might be like, oh my gosh, that fuels me. I can't wait to go back to the studio, or I can't wait to like whatever your end goal might be. Um, you might have different inspirations for different things also. Your inspiration for working out might be different than your inspiration that you need to gather for, your creative practice or for playing the piano or for writing poetry. So you can think about it with that specific end goal in mind. Like if I want to write better poetry, I'm going to read a lot of poetry and listen to the most beautiful music possible and set vibes all around my living room, that kind of thing. Okay, so I feel most alive when, fill in the blank. What's your actual answer? And you can write hiking. I'm not saying hiking is not valid. It totally is, but it's okay if it's not for you. This next one I love, and I'll tell you why. Talking with who always inspires me. This might be your best friend, and not just even like is fun. Like I love talking with somebody. It makes me feel like that was fun. Like who inspires you? Who do you walk away and go, oh my gosh, my vision has been expanded. Like I can now see more. There's something deeper and fuller inside of me because of this conversation. This might be listening to who also inspires me or always inspires me. Um, but talking with who always inspires me. And if it's somebody that you have access to that you can pick up the phone and call, that you can, tap into really organically, that's incredible because this person is a relationship that you need to invest in. You need to value. You need to really give this person more space in your brain. Your collective book club. That's so awesome. Anne says, listening to Emily, I got to make more podcasts. Melinda, your Ma peer group. I love that. I think that there are a couple of peer groups joining this workshop. There were definitely 2 or 3 in the last workshop, and I think there's a couple in this workshop too. Inside of Making Art Work, you have the option of joining a smaller, more intimate group of artists. We call them peer groups. And those peer groups often stay together long after the course has finished and they remain friends. And it's just the sweetest, sweetest thing. So that's what I'm talking about when I say your Ma peer group. Our kinfolk group with Krista. Oh, Krista, I love her so much. Krista I met Krista in Making Art Work in 2019. She went through the very first rendition of Making Art Work way back in the day. And I've been obsessed ever since. That's so sweet. Okay. Talking with who always inspires me. And when I said I love this question, it's because I really want you to circle back to that and right above this, invest in this relationship. If you wrote down someone that you can't just pick up the phone and call, then figure out other ways that you can consume more of what they say. If you wrote down my name, then go listen to my podcast. Go consider taking Making Art Work. I'll talk to you a lot in Making Art Work. If you wrote down someone that just really inspires you, but again, you don't really have access to their phone call or they can't come over for tea, then find other ways of bringing them into your life more. But if it is someone that you have access to that you can just text or you can say, hey, let's go out for wine or let's, go out for a breakfast date, then give that relationship more space. Give it more of your time and of your precious, precious, precious energy because that relationship is filling you up. And that's incredible. One of the ways that you can get this cup to overflowing is by investing in those relationships. Actually, this entire page is about filling your cup to overflowing because inspiration is kind of another word for that overflow. Visiting what or where always inspires me, or who always inspires me. When I wrote this question, I was definitely thinking about my personal source of inspiration is like art supply shops, art museums, different cities, traveling, like that kind of answer. But again, those are my answers. And you might say visiting my local coffee shop or visiting the park by my house or visiting my kids at school. Like your answer might be different. Visiting the library, visiting wherever. So again, tap into what actually inspires you. Activities that feed my creativity. This can be as broad as you'd like it to be. A lot of things feed my creativity that definitely may or may not feed yours. I, again, love travel. I love slow mornings. I love not being on Pinterest, but Pinterest might inspire you. So things that feed your creativity, write them down here. Habits I need to form to create better work. Again, this is where we say we're going to play. This is not a shame practice. This is not where we say, oh, you could do better. Why are you so lazy? Why are you so inept at accomplishing things? No, 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 no. We're saying, okay, if I want this, if I want to create better work, what habits can I form? One habit that I formed that kind of backfired was the habit of buying paint whenever I travel. It backfired because I paint in oil and oil paint basically never is used up and I only use a tiny little dollop of paint. So I have a lot of paint. So I need to stop that habit. It definitely worked for a little bit. It was awesome. And now I have too much paint. So that's okay. Habits I need to form to create better work. Habit of taking more photos. Habit of buying canvases right when you think you have an idea. Habit of Giving yourself a 3 hour window on the right day at the right time of day to go into that deep headspace, the habit of putting your phone in a different room and saying, everyone can just be quiet for a minute. I'm going to, focus. The habit of putting your phone on do not disturb. The habit of getting a little bit more rest before you have a big creative day. One habit that I'd love for you to write down is the habit of giving yourself an affirmation or words of encouragement before you begin creating. Do I have my affirmation deck right here? Do hold on. All right, I'm wearing shorts though, so just beware. I have a weird outfit on. Okay. I dressed for comfort today because I'm cozy at home all day. This is our Do It for the Process affirmation deck. I'm going to stop screen sharing for a second. You don't need this deck to do this practice, but I would love to encourage this practice in every single one of you. Um, Inside of the deck are cards. They're all very beautiful. Okay. And all this practice is, again, you don't need this deck, but every card has a different phrase on the back of it. And all of these phrases are intended to help you fall into your higher self, fall into your creative practice in some way. I'm just going to pull one for us. Okay. I pulled this one. It's very pretty. Oh my God. Can you read that? Each day, I am moving towards my goal. What? You saw me pull that at random. One of the ones that I tap into all the time, it's so simple, and you probably heard me say this before, but it's the very, very simple mantra of I will create good work today. And I begin saying it the night before my painting day. I don't get to paint every day, but on the days that I know that I get to paint, I know that there's a creative moment coming up for me. I'll just say, I will create good work tomorrow. I will create good work tomorrow. In the morning, I'm like, I'll create good work today. I'm going to create good work today. And it's just the simplest thing, but all it does is trick my brain into knowing deep in my cells that I will create good work today, that I have that ability, that I can do my best, that I'm not going to dilly-dally and I'm not going to create messes. I'm just going to create good work and that's all. My dryer is going crazy. It's so simple and it absolutely works. So I recommend you do that. So what habits do you need to form to create better work? And then we have another yes or no question down here. Again, I love these yes or no questions. Yes or no, I'll prioritize these habits, activities, and relationships for the good of my creativity. And again, it can be a no, and that's okay. But just saying yes or no lets your brain toggle this part of your life on or off. And either way is okay. It's okay. But if you're toggling it to a yes, if you're like, okay, yeah, I got this, then do it. Because this year is designed for your success, designed for your beauty, designed for your, I just can't wait to see what you create. All right, in this one, I'll let you do this one independently because you might need to sit down quietly with your aspirations that you wrote down here, your goals that you wrote down here. And this is where you begin to map them out. We'll do this a little bit more in detail on this page here, your action plan page. But this is where we're going to write down the 3 big goals per quarter. And you might know a few of these now. You might know that you have an art show coming up in May, so you'd write that down here. You might know that you want to create, I don't know, a new product and you want to do that by the end of Q1, which by the way, Q1 just stands for January, February, March, and then April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. So it's just 3-month chunks. Again, this just kind of channels your energy towards just one, essentially like one big thing per month. Or you could do, by the end of the quarter, these 3 things will happen, that kind of thing. But I personally think this is a really good amount of things, like big goals for each quarter. So it might be a new collection, it might be creating a new workshop, it might be sticking to your workout routine. That might be a good like Q1 set of goals, that kind of thing. Does that make sense? like a collection website update or release. Um, Especially when these projects take larger chunks of time, then you can begin in this sheet down here to take one of those big goals and begin to backtrack the steps that it will take to get there. So if it's a big goal, like I want to create a collection of work and I want it to be released for sale at the end of May, then I can go from there and say, okay, if I don't have anything created yet, I need to begin by buying the supplies and then begin by really scheduling out the time that it's going to be needed to create this work. And then maybe mapping out the collection and then getting the inspiration for it and then beginning the process of creating the work and then create the work, create the work, create the work. And then we're going to photograph the work. And anyways, we have this whole map that we can make. And if a collection launch is your goal, then join Making Art Work because I will just give you the entire plan in every single detail. And it's very easy. But let's just take this in summary. Write your goal, make it brief and attainable. List some of the benefits, and these are your benefits, not, again, we're leaving the ego behind. We're not here for an ego trip. So what are your actual benefits and what is it going to actually bring into your life for if you accomplish this goal? And I keep saying to leave ego behind, and that is not to say that things like status and numbers and profit and follower count, like those things absolutely matter. I'm not saying that we should dismiss all of those things. All I want you to hear me say when I say to leave your ego behind is to, or leave someone else's ego behind, essentially, is to encourage you to get to what actually inspires you. There have been many, many times in my life when the sales goal inspired me. I painted for my sales goal many times because it felt fun. It felt like, okay, I can do this. Um, I'm kind of doing it right now, actually. I'm not going to get into details, but I'm kind of doing that a little bit right now because I want to gift my kids something. And I'm like, okay, if I want this, then I gotta like make some paintings so I can pay for it. And that's kind of fun. So don't hear me say that you shouldn't focus on those external things because they can be really inspiring. Just be honest about what actually inspires you and what the actual benefits are going to be for you. Steps you'll take to reach your goal. You might need more than 3, but there's at least 3 here. Okay, and then we're going to track the goal. So your current date. This page you can print out so often. Just go ahead and print, what is this, page 17, as many times as you need to, because you can track and you can break down each goal very specifically this way. If that's the way your brain works, then this can be a really, really great way to do it. So current date, first steps, midway mark, what would that be? Additional milestones, for example, painting number 1 through 5, photographing paintings number 1 through 5, like that kind of additional milestones. And then aspirational completion date. And I say aspirational because dates always change. Write this in pencil. This is going to change most likely. Maybe not. Maybe you're very, very good at sticking to your dates, but I definitely like to change my aspirational completion dates because things flow and I'm always optimistic about when I'll complete things. And I'm like, actually, let's move it back a week. Let's move it back 2 weeks. That's okay. Resources needed. This is good to track out from the beginning because it'll help you allocate things towards this goal because your goal matters. The benefits are so great. So what does it need? Do you need to invest anything financial? Do you need to invest energy in some way? Do you need to invest time in some way? How much time will it take? Do you need to access knowledge or trainings or podcast episodes, that kind of thing? What do you need to accomplish this goal? Okay, again, print this out as often as you need to, work yourself through it as often as you need to for each goal. Once you get the hang of it, though, it's going to become a little bit like second nature to just kind of map these things out in your brain. At this point, I wouldn't say that well, I do write a lot of these things down. I take that back, especially for our really big goals. We usually take this kind of process to a platform called like Asana. or at least to Slack, so we can all kind of communicate about something. But Asana lets us see things and put things on calendars and talk about the different project milestones and, triggers and things like that. That's kind of nice. Okay, our last worksheet is accountability. And this is where you get to acknowledge that you are not the only resource in accomplishing your big dreams, that we are all connected. You are part of a community. If your big dreams have that capital B, big dream, then you're going to need community. You're going to need to know that you're not alone in this. Even if you're independent like me and an introvert like me, you need the muscular structure of your community to accomplish things that feel so big and so beautiful that how could they possibly fit inside of just you? They can't. They're not supposed to. So, how can you find community and resources and the support that you need to make these big, beautiful things real? This might be your partner. This might be your community, your creative community. This might be your peer group instead of making art work. This might be making art work. It might be a great space for you to be like, okay, I have these big dreams for my creative career. I need something outside of myself to make them happen. This might be turning to books or to podcasts. Um, but what do you need to accomplish your goal? So write down the goal first and then write down the motivation. This is a little bit different than the benefits. The motivation is the thing that is inspiring you. Why do you want this? The benefits kind of come afterwards. And then on the last sheet, we talked about your benefits. Current situation, and then steps to be taken. And I like to write these things down because it actually gives you a framework. If you do want to talk with someone, if you do want to bring someone into your corner and say, hey, I have this really big dream. I really want to create this collection. I really want to write this book. I really want to launch my website. I really want to begin an Instagram account. Here's why. This is my motivation for it. This is where I am now. Can you help me? Can you help me like track through this? Can you help me work through this? Can you at least support me while I do this? Here are my steps to be taken. And you can do this with just yourself. You can do this with just yourself and a stack of books or podcasts. You can do this with a few close friends. You can do this inside of making art work, that kind of thing. And again, another yes or no. I will share my goal, motivation, progress, the ups and downs, and the results with, and you can write someone's name. You can write your journal. If you're like, I'm just going to journal through this, that's okay. You can tap into your higher self. You can tap into your wiser self. But yes or no, you will do this. And I will say, when you know that someone else is in your corner, whether it's someone close to you or someone who you can learn from and listen to, like me, when you know that someone else believes in your success, you are so much more likely to accomplish it. You are so much more likely to not get in your own way, to not limit yourself because it feels scary to step out. It feels scary to be the bravest person in the room. It feels scary to be the loudest, most vibrant person in the room. It can feel a little bit intimidating. So if you're surrounded by a community that says, yeah, of course we've got this. Of course we do this. Of course. That vibe, that feeling, that communal energy makes your actions no longer risky. Suddenly they are normal. They're normalized. They're the way that our community functions, or the way that your friend group functions, or your partnership functions, or the way that your children and you communicate, or the way that you relate to your peer group or to your community members. So suddenly having that normalization of big, audacious dreams, it changes everything, absolutely everything. So that's what I'm going to leave you with for that. Let yourself be seen by somebody else. It's also kind of scary, but also so powerful, and see what happens. I guarantee it will change everything. Um, if you are considering making artwork, our doors open in March. It's 9 weeks. It takes you through every different aspect of running a creative business, from goal setting to beginning to think about your brand, to beginning to think about your website as a space that people come and gather and fall into a vision and begin to buy your work and begin to buy more of your work, repeat customers and things like that. We talk about photography and videography. We talk about branding. We talk about beginning to think about your business as more than just one thing. So if you're a creative, you have your one thing that you're probably really quite good at and you love. But can we add different avenues and different layers to your profit and to your business structure? Things like wholesale, licensing, different products, different services, like layering those legs that make your table very strong and very sturdy and give you a lot of space to play. If you wrote down freedom or creativity or innovation as your core values, those things give you space to just really play in all of those ways while also adding stability. It's a beautiful course. It's very, very powerful, and I love it so much. All right, that's our workbook for this year. Any questions? Any things that you want to celebrate, that you want to discuss? Did anything come up for you during this time of reflection, of introspection, of maybe some reframes? Hopefully, you had a little aha moment or like a, oh, that's a perspective I like. I love that. For my neurodivergent friends, I love the Timo app to help break down personal routines and goals. Oh, do I need that? Maybe. Misty, Ma used to be 12 weeks. Yes. We got substantial feedback saying that 12 weeks was too much of a marathon, and I agree. So nothing has left the course. In fact, we've added a little bit to the course, but we restructured it so that it's 9 weeks long now instead of 12 weeks long. It's actually 10 weeks long, but 9 weeks of content coming into your life. So just like a little bit fuller of a 9-week course than a more like 12 weeks is just a lot of content and a lot of time. But you can find all that on the website. Oh, Anna. Hi, Anna. Making it work has changed my life. I made 3 times more than my previous year's income. I launched my prints and my studio club. Your studio club is so genius. I love it so much. I was inspired by all the possibilities. I love that. Okay, Susan says, if you have a big creative goal to launch an art collection and prints by the end of March, what other smaller goals could you add to help sell more art? I love that. Okay, so if you have a big goal like selling, launching an art collection and prints, you have a lot of smaller goals in there. So you have to either have the work already created or create the work by the end of March. You have to have everything photographed and photographed well. You have to have a place to launch this work. So website, Etsy shop, in-person sales, gallery, whatever you want to do for that, the actual like selling it to the people, to all the people. You have to have photography either like done by yourself or outsourced to get prints made, or you have to scan them depending on the size of the work. You need to edit those images, get some test prints made. And then, like Kate said, social media goals. So how are you going to market this work? Are you going to market it via online, like social media, email, in person? There's a lot of different marketing avenues to get on there. So that's a big goal. And that's a lot of small goals too. Very exciting. I need to reevaluate the accountability community and find those people who are supportive. Absolutely. But even until you find people, which often I think we wait for community to be just kind of arriving at our doorstep, which in making it work will help you with because we'll just put you in a peer group if you join a peer group and you're just going to be with people that are just on your doorstep essentially via Zoom or via however you want to communicate. But I think a lot of times your community will come when you come to your community with some kind of vulnerability. And it doesn't have to be other creatives. That's awesome if you can find other creatives. It's the very best. But it could be someone that just likes you. and just supports you. And it's just like in your corner. It could be your sister. It could be a coworker. It could be a neighbor. It doesn't have to be someone that you're like, oh, you inspire me because you're doing something that I want to do too. It can just be someone that has the right energy and has enough capacity to hold space for your dreams. And you can hold space for theirs. So oftentimes it's just that vulnerability back and forth. And you might need to be the one that says, hey, can I talk with you about something? Like, I have this really big idea and I'm kind of nervous about it, but what do you think? And if they come back with a, you shouldn't do that, then go to the next person. They're not your person. Take their advice if needed, but in addition to people that are near you that might have the right energy, I think it's very valid to expand that idea of community and accountability, and to know that you can hold yourself accountable and you can access the wisdom of others. So books are a great example of that. Podcasts are a great example of that. Courses, memberships are a great example of saying, I'm going to tap into your wisdom. We don't really have a relationship necessarily. In Making It Work, we have a relationship, but you know what I mean. We don't have like that friendship, that like close buddy, but I can tap into your knowledge and I can hold myself accountable with that knowledge. So you could get creative about it and, expand what you call your community. I have people in my community that don't even know I exist, and that's okay. They're in my corner, even though they don't know me at all. I love that. I have so many goals as a new business to set my foundation. Any tips on how to choose a focus for a revenue stream goal first? There's so much to choose from. So when you're choosing your revenue stream goals, when you're beginning your business, I like to do a little bit of a like, I need paper I can write on. Do I write on this? Oh, why not? Let's do it. I like to think, here are my goals, or here's the idea for my business. I'm just drawing home. Okay. Easiest and best. I don't know if you can even see this. I just drew on my book, but here we go. All right. So your business is the success that we're working towards here at the top. And then you have your easiest revenue stream. Wait, is it backwards for you? And I wrote in cursive, so you literally can't read it at all. Cool. Okay. You have your easiest option and you have your best, like your highest work is what we call it in Making It Work. You have your thing that you want to be known for, that elevates your whole business. That is your like the pillar of everything is your highest work, right? As you begin your business, it's good to begin supporting that highest work, which is probably going to change. For me, that would be like my landscape paintings are my highest work, but they've changed. Everything about my business has changed as I've grown, and we all grow. We're always changing. Um, but then you also, as you begin, you have your thing that might be the easiest, the thing that you know you can sell, the thing that you're going to just try. It's a good price point. Your audience seems kind of into it. You want to begin this thing, and you might shift away from it entirely. And you might be like, that's not what I want to do. I want to move over here. But as long as it kind of fits in that world, perfect. Um, I have a dear friend that began her entire studio and now she has a beautiful studio and is doing so well. She began her entire studio doing something that she knew she could sell because she wanted to like be full-time in this. She didn't love it, but it was fine because she knew she could sell it and it was fun and it was fine. She made beautiful house portraits for this phase. She got enough of that kind of work going that she could begin to blend in the thing that she really loved, and then she began doing that. So I would maybe think about if you have that kind of thing. In Making It Work, we also talk about identifying which parts of your business are the most profitable, which ones bring the most joy to you, which ones bring the most joy to your audience. And wherever that mashup is the beautiful Venn diagram of perfection. But there might be things that fall into those three categories. There are more categories too, by the way, but those three are the primary ones. Um, that might just live in like, this brings me joy. I want to make this for me. And if it sells, awesome. It's going to sell, but awesome. This brings my audience joy. And this thing makes my business happy because it makes the most money, which your audience probably also loves that thing too, since they're buying it. Um, or it might be a higher price point thing, that kind of thing. So you can kind of think about it that way. I also say at the beginning, you have so much passion and energy. Just try a lot of things and be willing to learn and be willing to evolve and say, that was fun. I like trying that, and I'm not doing that ever again. That happens a lot. Sarah asks, if previous making art work students want to join the next round, how does that work? You'll get an email to join as an alumni, and you just follow that email. But it is a pretty short window of a time, so don't miss it. Or you can email us too, and we'll make sure that you get it. My 21 or 27-year-old son is my accountability buddy this year. That's perfect. I love that. I'm so excited about 2024. We can do it. So much beauty the world gets to see this year. That's the perfect way to think about it. Perfect. I'm in love with making it work. I'm still slowly working through it, but incredibly beautiful, inspiring, and helpful. I'm glad to hear that. What if you have a lot of ideas and aspirations? How do you, Emily, choose to focus on one and when? So this is where I really follow desire. I follow desire a lot, but especially when it comes to deciding what to do and where to focus. And I also follow, if I have a lot of things that I'm like, oh, I want all these things now, then I'll look at my week. I have 5 work days, 7 days, five, work days, quote unquote. And I'll kind of say, okay, I want to do everything all at once. Today I'm going to focus on this. Tomorrow I'll focus on this. The next day I'll focus on this. So if it feels like you have kind of this cacophony of things that you're like, everything is living inside of me, let your brain focus, do some deep work, set yourself up for success by saying, I'm only going to think about this one thing. I'm not going to try to juggle everything. Okay, let's see here. Can you show your palette again? Aw. Okay, okay. Twist my arm. I will. Okay, so here's my palette for the beginning of the year. You can see the painting. I don't know if you can see that. See that? The smaller one? I have a whole collection that's building that's in that same color palette. I don't know why. It's definitely vibrant. If you cannot fit in the full 9 weeks, is it possible to continue making it work at your own pace until you are finished? Yes, 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 yes. So we deliver the course content to you in 9 weeks. That way you don't get completely overwhelmed, but you also have it all at your fingertips pretty fast. I would say, oh my gosh, Sky, back me up on this, but I would say like probably at least half the students go through it at their own pace. And like I always talk about um take from each module, take the core concepts, like take the things that you're like, okay, these are the most important things from this module, but I don't need this yet. I don't need this yet. I don't need to know how to, begin wholesale yet. I don't need to know how to reach out to brands quite yet or reach out to magazines quite yet. I'm still in this phase, but I know the knowledge is here in case I need to access it. So it's just kind of waiting for you for when you're at that phase. And you can tap into it when you need to. There's also things in the course that you probably don't need every day. Like, how do you handle an upset customer? You don't need that every day. You need that like once a year. And then you can be like, okay, wait, how do I do this? And then we'll be in your ears helping you with that kind of thing. Or you don't need to like reinvent your nurture sequence on your email every time you do it. You just need to set it up once so you can tap into that content then and then, go on from there. So it's definitely a take it and go at your own pace kind of course. But we do recommend like learn the big concept for each module and then take the nitty-gritty details down from there. Oh, this is a great idea. Kelly says, "Thank you, Emily. Making it work was so life-changing. I made a Canva doc that is the background size, my desktop background size for my 2024 vision board while listening, and I'm working through this class. I'm setting as my background now, and it's giving me so much clarity. I love that." So if you have a digital version of your vision board or of your aspirations, or if you just want to like take a beautiful sheet of paper and write down your goals, your aspirations for the year, take a photo of it and make it your desktop background. Manifestation dreams right there. I love that. Recommendations to balance coming back to creativity after burnout. Okay, Heather, go listen to, there's a podcast that I recorded, I think in 2020 about this that I still think about. I think I talked to my, you know, you like tap into something that feels like it's your big sister self and you're talking to current self. I don't have a big sister, but I often think about this. Like, I really feel like I tapped into my big sister self when I recorded that episode, and I still personally come back to those concepts all the time. There's a lot I can say on that, and I have said on that, and you are so loved. And this is also going to be a really beautiful start, like just going through this workbook very, very gently and letting yourself begin to relight that flame because burnout is never, it's not like you're a piece of wood that is just burnt up and gone. It's not how it works. Burnout is something that happens and then you regenerate, you regrow. You are so capable of nourishing that part of yourself again, of filling your cup again, of bringing that self back to life. But I think the hardest thing about burnout is trusting the strength of that thing that you've regrown because it feels frail and it feels like a new little baby plant because it is. So beginning the process of like going through this workbook and saying, okay, can I trust myself? Can I know that this beauty that lives inside of me is living? It's not dead. You did not burn it into a crisp. Absolutely not. That can be one of the most beautiful like phases of that process. So start there and be very, very gentle and very loving. Also, burnout is most common when you are living someone else's story and working towards someone else's dreams. And the more often you can come back to yourself and say, do I want this and why? The more often you can come back and say, what are my actual ambitions? What are my actual goals here? What are my actual aspirations here? Um, and recenter those, the less likely burnout will be, for sure. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Sky. The podcast about burnout. Click that link, save that link. We'll all cry together. I think I cry in that episode, so you get to hear that. I cry in a lot of podcast episodes, though. It's okay. Beautiful. It reminds me of sequoia trees. I just visited Yosemite and learned the seeds only come out of the cones from fire. Oh no, I'm gonna cry on Zoom. I love that. Okay, before I do cry, let's just go. Okay. Y'all are amazing. Thank you for being here. Like I said, Making It Work opens in March, and we hope to see you in there. It's going to be a very, very, very beautiful. I'm already so excited about this cohort, this time going through the course. It's going to be like I can feel the energy really like storing up in my body and in my creative practice. And I just can't wait to tip it over into Making It Work as well. And it's going to be a very, very beautiful year. I feel a lot of creative freedom this year, and I hope that you feel that as well because you deserve it. All right, everyone. Take all the goodness, write some things down, go journal, go take some notes, get some affirmation cards if that resonates with you, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.